What's up everybody, Trinity here, and welcome back to the Second Street Marvel. In today's comic book review, I'm going to be doing a triple feature. That's right guys, today I'm going to be reviewing 3 books in one, and that's because today I am going to be reviewing 3 of the titles that are coming out of Jonathan Hickman's reboot of the X-Men in the Marvel Universe, with all of the Dawn of X titles that have spun out of that. These are the last 3 of the series that have come out of it, you know, of the number 2s that are getting ready to hit the shelves. And we're going to be starting off with New Mutants issue number 2, as well as X-Force issue number 2, and then of course finishing up with Fallen Angels issue number 2. Now guys, I'm going to do a brief review of these, and then at the end I'm going to, after I've kind of talked about all 3 of them, then I'll get into some more spoiler talk, because I had a couple comments from a couple of different viewers here recently saying that they felt I had spoiled some things in some of the comic books, and you know what, I think that I kind of agree with them there, you know, so I am going to do some review on these books, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the spoiler talk, and I'll let you know when that's done. But first of all, I'm going to start off with New Mutants issue number 2. Now this book is being written by Jonathan Hickman. Rod Reis is the artist, and VC's Travis Lanham is the letterer, with Tom Muller on design, and the cover artist is Rod Reis. And I'm going to go ahead and show you that beautiful 2-page title page right there, and then I am going to go ahead and show you that art on the cover once again. And okay guys, I know in my last review on New Mutants I said that you know, Rod Reis's art, I like Rod Reis's art, and I think this book seems a little more fitting. I don't know, it seems a little more in place now here in issue number 2. But there's one thing I think I realized, the one nitpick I have about his art, because I do like a lot of his work. I've read several of his different books, and he's got a very distinct style in his writing, or in his books, in his art. But one thing I think I noticed, and you can see it like right here in these panels, you can notice how, see, it seems like the noses, he changes the color on them a lot, like makes them a deeper color, and they always, I don't know, it just kind of stands out to me. I mean, like you can even see like right here, you know, you can see Sam Guthrie's nose. I mean, you can see just in different panels, he makes it look different. To me, it just kind of stands out and makes it just kind of look weird. You can even see Mondo right here as well. You know, I mean, just I don't know, just a small nitpick. I've got to pick at something, right? Because the art in this book, I absolutely really love it in this book. To me, I don't know, maybe it's just because it grew on me in issue number 1, and like I said, I like his work in the first place. But here, this book, I really like the art in it. A lot of it seemed fitting, aside from, you know, my nitpick about the noses. I like the art in this book, and I'm telling you, at the very end of this book, the last page of this book, okay, not the very last page, because, you know, they always have these really nice 2-page spreads for us right here, where they give us these white pages. You know I love the white pages. Why get a phone book when you have white pages in your X-Men books, okay? I'm not gonna get into that. But the very last page of this book, there is a picture that he does in here that is absolutely beautiful. He got there's a picture of somebody that we get introduced to, and I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. But guys, the art in this book was good. The story here was really good. We see, you know, after issue number 1, the New Mutants, they were all stuck in Shi'ar space on the space station Benevolent. Here we see that a friend, they mentioned it in issue number 2 about the lawyers and everything that they got. There's a lot of lawyers mentioned in this book. And eventually we see that, you know, the New Mutants do end up getting out of this Shi'ar, you know, the Shi'ar courtroom, when they were actually just sentenced to life imprisonment. So we see that they end up getting saved by some friends here, and then they go off, you know, just going, they end up getting saved. And the reason they end up getting saved, and they actually get a pardon from their sentence as well, because you know, they've got some friends in some high places, but then they actually also get called into service, and that's part of the reason they ended up getting their pardon. And they don't end up having to live out their life sentences. Okay, and then we also see that while they are going out on this mission, we get we we run into a villain, and that's all I'm gonna say, guys. This book, New Mutants, this one was actually really good. Once again, we got Jonathan Hickman writing, so you know it's probably something that's going to be relevant going into the into the future of the Marvel universe with the X-Men. And I recently did a ranking list where I ranked all these books, not necessarily in the order that I like them, but in the order of what I think are going to be the continuous ongoing series, and some of them that I feel may be short-lived before they spin into something else or become a different book. Now the next one, and New Mutants again was a very good book. I think it's one you guys will definitely want to read if you want to get some of the larger parts of this story. Now the next one I want to talk about here is X-Force issue number 2. This book right here, guys. Again, once again, really good. Written by Benjamin Percy. Joshua Cassara is the artist. Dean White is the color artist. VC's Joe Caramagna is the letterer, and Tom Muller is on design. And Dustin Weaver did the cover art. Once again, we got those awesome 2-page spreads for the title page, and then I'll show you that cover art right there. I like this cover. This cover's a pretty nice cover as well. So basically, guys, we know how issue number 1 of X-Force ended, and that's pretty much where we pick up back here in Krakoa, as they are sitting there just kind of on the scene after what happened to Xavier, examining his body and just different things right there going on. And we see that they are looking to we see that it might not, they're not so confident in bringing back Professor Xavier. We seen in issue 1 number 1, if you're here watching this, he died. Okay. In issue number 2, we see, and we were talking about, no problem, they just get to resurrect him. But we can see, and I kind of felt like when he got killed, I'm like, it's probably not going to be so easy to bring him back. And we can see here in this book that they're not quite so sure that they're going to be able to pull it off, and I kind of like that. And then we flash here into the next scene of the book. But I want to show you, they got this 1-page spread here with some kind of important information. Some important information here, just talking about the assassination anyway. And then we see, then we go to Krakoa, where they are, where we got a couple of the people who all we got in this one, where they've got Dr. Reyes and Sage here, and I believe Black Tom Cassidy is there as well, where they are looking at the perpetrators who came in to do the assassination. They're investigating their bodies and everything, and kind of seeing how it was that they got into Krakoa without being undetected. Like, how did they get through? Kind of a question that I'm sure we've all kind of had when it comes to those kinds of things, and we learn here how they did it. So some very interesting things going on here, and we can see that while they're investigating, Logan's had enough, and he decides, Wolverine decides he's going to take off and go investigate and find out more information. And he gets there to the airport where this plane had taken off, and as he is looking for information, that's when he comes across Kid Omega, who ends up lending him a hand as well to find out who it was to do it. And they end up tracking down, following the trail and everything, and finding exactly where all this is coming from and exactly what they're doing, as they find in Krakoa, as they're checking out these bodies of these people there. They find out that they're like a different version of Reavers, and just some crazy stuff going on here. I know, right? I know. And that's kind of what something that I guess Logan and Kid Omega had kind of stumbled on as well while they were there doing their investigation, and while they were there at this place where they had basically come to not a dead end, but an end. They found what they were looking for. We see that they end up finding what they were looking for, and having to deal with some people in the meantime as well. Again, guys, this book was very good. The art in this book is good. There are some of the things, some of the art I don't like in here necessarily, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Just some of it's not for me. Some of it seemed a little darker than it is. Some of the coloring, I don't know, just didn't seem right in some places. Other than that, again, guys, X-Force issue number 2. this is one of my ones on my ranking list saying that you guys need to be reading this one anyway. X-Force issue number 2. I'm gonna spoil my own video here. Now the next one I want to talk about here is Fallen Angels issue number 2. Okay, guys, this one right here is being written by Brian Hill. Simon Kudransky is the artist, and Frank Diamante is the color artist, and it's lettered by VC's Joe Sabino, and the design is Tom Muller, and Ashley Witter is the cover artist. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that cover right there. Go ahead and take a look at that, and I'll let you check out that nice two-page title page, man. Gotta love them spreads, you know. That's like these 2-page title spreads. They're kind of like the centerfolds of these X-Men books. Let me tell you, I look forward to them every time. Can't you tell? So, guys, in this book, again, you know, one of the things I want to say is I like the art in this book. This one is really dark in a lot of spots, but this one really kind of does it for me. I just like the artwork that they do in this book. I want to get that right off the bat. There's just a lot of spots where it just looks good. Like right here, you know, it's a lot of dark stuff in here, but like I don't know, for me, for what's going on in this story, it just seems to make sense. Everything that's going on here. Some people might complain it's too dark. Now there are a few spots in here where I'm kind of like, you know, like it could be a little bit better, but altogether, guys, I like the art going on throughout this book. And again, it's Simon Kudransky who's doing the art here, and I like the work that he was doing in the recent Punisher book as well. I really did like it, and the coloring here with Frank Diamante is just absolutely beautiful. But basically, what we find in this book is we're getting a little bit more backstory on Quanon, you know, before she was Psylocke, or when she was Psylocke, or how. Don't get me confused here, but we get a little bit more backstory about some of the things that she has gone out and done, and a lot of the narration of everything over here seems kind of like what she's talking about throughout this book with her narration, because she's the one narrating most of this book. It seems like she's talking. The theme here is really basically being a tool, and you know, maybe at some point becoming the tool wielder, but you know, you are still part of the tool, and you are ultimately using the tool, just like, because I don't want to ruin everything. That's basically what we're talking about here. We're talking about being they're also talking about being a slave to no matter what it is, whatever cause it is. You know, are we a slave to it? You know, some of these things in our lives, as we seen in the last issue, she was talking about you know, her growing up being part of the Hand and everything. That's what we're getting more of in here, is basically being under tutelage and learning how to become a weapon, and knowing that, you know, when you're a weapon, you can't really show any mercy. You don't have time for that. You only got time to act. You don't have time for forgiveness. You just got time to act. You just do what you do, what you're trained to do, and that's kind of what we see going on here. And you know, we getting seeing some more of that, as you know, we see in the last book. She kind of wants to be mentoring Laura and Cable here. We get a little bit more of that here in this book, as they're having some conversations and just going over some different things, kind of getting to know each other a little bit better. And then we see that Psylocke ends up going off to talk to Cable, he's gotten some information, and he wants to go help out in whatever way he can. And she's telling him like no, we don't have time for this. The only way we can leave the island, you know, is when we're going out specifically looking for Apoth. And otherwise, if we keep going out, leaving and coming back, we don't want to fall under the fall out of good graces with Krakoa, you know, so they don't end up rejecting him. And then once again, like I said, we were talking about the Hand here. We get this nice page here of more story and everything, talking about the way of the Hand, really, you know, just kind of, you know, some of their mythos, their beliefs, and we get more of that here right there on the second page. I'm telling you guys, you gotta love these pages, these white pages, man. You don't just need them in phone books. So then we see we're getting a little bit more background information. Some of the things that we learned at the beginning of the book, we find a little bit more of that here at the end of the book, where she was sent out on a job and supposed to supposed to kill some people. She ends up killing some of the people, not all the people, because she didn't feel that she had to. She did it trying to do something that she felt was right, and then it ends up that it was all for nothing in the first place. And I gotta say, I really like it. And this book, again, some of the writing in this book is really great. We see that she ends up, through all that, she ends up going back to talk to Sinister here, and we seen in issue number 1 that Sinister really likes. He's a different kind of guy, man. He really gets off on hearing some of these stories here from some of these characters, especially, like when they're in pain and they're having struggles, they're having crisis of faith in themselves and just what they're doing. Again, guys, I really like this book, and then we see that this group of mutants ends up going out on their mission to save some people and track down exactly what's going on at that source of that information that Cable had gotten from his own source here in the book from his sources, and they go to chase those down and look a little bit more into that. And you know what? Guys, I'm telling you, Fallen Angels is definitely one I've really enjoyed out of these series. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna last for very long, but guys, I'm telling you, I really like the story that's going on here, and I like the art in the Fallen Angels book. Okay, guys, so now I want to go ahead and get into some spoiler talk about some of these books, some of the things going on in here. And I'm going to go back to New Mutants, issue number 2 now. One of the things right off the bat here, guys, right here at the very beginning in this book, we're getting this, where they're talking, what's his name is talking here. Sunspot is sitting here talking about how before he left Earth, he went ahead and went and met with some lawyers. And what's he say here? He says, "Before I left, because I learned this lesson the hard way twice, I went to see my Earth lawyers to make sure all things X-Corps would be in good hands if this takes longer than I think it will." He says they're really good Earth lawyers and talks about all this, and he pretty much signed all the papers without even reading them because he's responsible, because he's a businessman, and so basically he signed a whole bunch of papers that he didn't even read. A lot of people sign contracts like this, but and he did that before they actually went off into space, which is crazy. Why would lawyers signing anyway? Just some of these things are going to come into play later, and I absolutely know it. And the other thing is they're talking about how when they got dropped off by the space pirates on the not the Star Killer, but the Star Jammers, they actually took the egg with them. They had the egg that the Star Jammers were there for in the first place. They had stored it in Mondo, and they were sitting there. So he's got that king egg, isn't that what it was called? The king egg with him the whole time, and then that's when we end up they end up getting their lawyers. They call the salamander looking lawyer there and in to help him, and then that's when we see the Sam Guthrie and his wife. God, I can't remember what her name is all of a sudden. Smasher end up showing up there to save him. And they kind of get, they're kind of just, I don't know. Sunspot is sitting there kind of being a dick, and then and then Smasher smashes him in the face. I guess she lives up to the name, and and then they finally get on the ship with Smasher and Sam, and as they were heading out, that's when they learn when we see that there's. This Smasher is a super guardian, and they explain some of that stuff in here, what some of these different these titles mean. But basically, he this guy here, God, what is he? The Majester comes in, and he is basically like kind of like that's who she serves as a super guardian, and he calls and gives them a mission, and that's pretty much where the New Mutants end up getting their kind of getting their, how would you say, their sentences dropped and all the charges and become free again, is because they're basically being enlisted to go help these guys bring in this person that they need, because they go on this mission. And then that's where we flash onto what is it, Chandalar, the Shi'ar throne world, where this guy's at, and we see he's having this conversation here with Zandra. And there's some very particular things that he says in here that I'm like, okay, there's some crazy stuff going on in here, guys. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here. In some of these things that I'm guessing here, right here we've got a couple of these different people talking to different people in this room here, and the one of them says our nearest galactic cluster has fallen. Titans are assembling for war, and we believe they have our empire in their sights. And this is the Shi'ar Empire, right? Now, if you go back and remember, I want to say it's in, I want to say it's in here in House of X. Is it House of X issue number 4? Maybe it's Powers of X. Powers of X issue number 5. In Powers of X issue number 5, they explain to us exactly what the difference between like Titans, strongholds, and dominions. Now I could be wrong here. Maybe they're actually just talking about just Titans, just in the galaxy. But Titans were actually these societies made up of X amount of people, and basically, their collective intelligence. Once there was so many of them, they became like I want to say, what was it, a dominion? They become a stronghold, and then from strongholds they become a dominion. And all of these things they're just basically, and we see one of the things they say is like the dominions are constantly at war. It's a collection of these different like basically Titans, and Titans are these societies, and I'm wondering if that's what they're talking about here. I could be absolutely wrong here, 100% about these Titans assembling for war, but that's what they're talking about here. That's kind of what they're talking about here is the society who is wanting to come in and basically take over their empire and make it part of theirs. And that's where we see that he is trying, that this God, was it, the Majester is trying to, basically he's trying to hand off this power to Zandra, and she says that she's not ready for it, but that's exactly what he sent off the New Mutants on this mission to go pick up. And that's when we get to see who they're going to pick up. And I gotta say, guys, like I was talking about earlier, the art in this New Mutants book, okay guys, like this right here, just look at that. Oh dude, that is just beautiful artwork right there, guys. Beautiful artwork. Rod Reese. Oh my God. Dude, really. This is Deathbird. And funny thing is I don't really know who any of these characters are, so I got on the internet and looked up who Deathbird is, and I find out that one of her aliases is actually War. Interesting, right? Especially considering what we just learned in X-Men issue number 2, when Apocalypse was confronted with one of his children, right? And who was the mother of that child that he was holding so affectionately? War. So it makes me wonder if that was referring to her child as well. But we can see that they're basically there to get Deathbird to go back to the Shi'ar basically homeworld, the throne world, the Shi'ar throne world of Chandalar, and basically kind of get Zandra here up to pace in leading this nation as they get ready to go into war, as the Shi'ar Empire gets ready to go into war. I could be completely wrong there, guys. I mean, let me know down in the comments below what you think about a couple of those things, because I'm telling you, I think that right there, like, yeah, that's some pretty big stuff there. I mean, if you ask me, and I could be wrong about that. Maybe they're just talking about Titans, not the actual Titan societies and stuff like that. I could be wrong, and I could also be very wrong about what's her name? Deathbird. I almost said Songbird. Being the mother of the mutant or the being that we met there. Deathbird being the mother of that mutant there that we met in X-Men issue number 2. I could absolutely be wrong. Now, X-Force issue number 2, getting into some spoilers about this, guys. Some very interesting things going on here where Magneto turns Professor Xavier's Cerebro. It looks like he turns his Cerebro into a sword. I'm not really sure what that's all about. It's some of the stuff going on here. But one of the things about this book is, when we seen Professor Xavier die, I'm telling you, like, that was a pretty heavy moment in that book. Like, it was like that book instantly grabbed me in. But then we see here, like everyone, I'm sure we've all been thinking, like, they'll bring back Professor Xavier, it'll be fine. We learned here that they're not so confident about bringing him back. Like, they're pretty sure they can do it. They have all the safeguards in place, but they don't seem too confident in that they can. And then when we learn here about the people who came into the society to Krakoa to kill and assassinate Professor Xavier, we see how they basically got into Krakoa pretty much undetected. Was they actually went and did some skin grafting and took pieces of Domino off of her to put on themselves, so they would be recognized as mutants. And that was just that was like some pretty crazy, just like some crazy freaky stuff going on in this book. And it was cool too because we learned more. They were talking about the Reavers, and we kind of see what they were doing here. And they have we can see right here where they've got where it looks like they're kind of growing these like 3D printing human beings, or these Reavers, I guess, if you will, not necessarily human beings. And then Jean reaches into their minds to try to read their minds, and just learns a little bit of stuff there. And then right here, because she didn't know what she was looking at, we get this explanation right here of this Phineas Hook. I have no clue who this guy is, but I can guarantee you there's like some things going on here that are at play. I don't know much about that. If you know more about that, let me know down in the comments below. And then also right here, guys, where they see where Logan and Kid Omega were they're tracking down, looking for. Well, what they were looking for was Domino, and they ended up finding her. And I'm telling you, that's just some great art. That's just some great art right there. I don't know. I really like that. Just crazy stuff going on in this book. So we can see that already humans are out there, just kind of finding ways to around the Krakoan system. We see a lot more in X-Force where they're talking about how there were basically people out there who were signing the treaty so they could get the mutant drugs, and at the same time they're saying like, like we're not cool with you. We just want your damn drugs. We'll sign the treaty, but that's it. We're still coming after you, and that's what we see there in X-Force issue number 2. Again, guys, I think X-Force is one definitely need to be reading. Now, getting some spoiler talk for for Fallen Angels here, guys. This book, like I was saying, I like the art in this book, and one of the things I like in this book is, well, at the very beginning where we see that Psylocke was going after. She was there on a mission basically to kill this guy. She's there asking him. It sounds like she's trying to actually. He thinks that she's there to transport him somewhere else where he'll be safe, away from whoever is coming after him. It sounds like it's the Hand, but she's part of the Hand, and then she ends up killing him. And at the same time, she's supposed to kill his family too, his wife, who is pregnant with their daughter, and or at least a kid. I guess they didn't say necessarily daughter. And she went ahead and let him live. And we see that really did her no good, because it came back to bite her in the ass, because the Hand actually knew, and they went ahead and brutally murdered her anyway. And we get the cool thing about this book right here is, I mean, obviously she's kind of mentoring X-23 and Cable here, but we also get this page right here that has this explanation of some of the things, just like some of the ways of the Hand, some of their philosophies, some of their thoughts, just kind of very cold-hearted stuff, stuff that you would, I don't know, you would kind of expect out of being under that kind of servitude, and being in that kind of being that kind of environment. Exactly what the Hand does, let alone what I guess killers do. And that's one of the things I like about here. And other thing that I really like about this book is when she goes here to talk to Sinister. She's here talking to Sinister, and the conversations he likes having are just really interesting, because I think they serve the overall narrative of this story. You know what I'm saying? Like, does everything that we see, the narration that we see from Psylocke and everything, where she's kind of talking about herself growing up and becoming this weapon, becoming basically a part of the Hand, and the training that they had to go into, going out and knowing that when you have a mission, you go out and do your mission. You're a tool, basically. You're a weapon. You just go out and do your job. That's it. You don't ask questions. You just go do your damn job, and that's it. You don't question it. And at the same time, we can still see that while she was trained that way and has that background, she still has feelings. She still has human emotions, and she's still attached to those. And that's where we see, she ended up showing some mercy on that guy's family. and just a lot of different psychological kind of things, I guess, playing throughout this book. And I think that's one of the things I really like about this book. But I really like these conversations that she has with Mr. Sinister, because he's just so into wanting to hear about her and her suffering, and kind of it almost feels like, it almost seems like he don't know what any of that feels like, having those feelings, having emotions and things like that. And he wants to learn more about it, because while he kind of gets off on it, I feel like he gets off on her having to talk about these things that are painful to her. And I really, really love that in this book, and how it's talking through some of those parts. Just absolutely great. And then of course, when we get here, once they leave and they get there to the island, where the kids are being used to develop this all this technology for APOTH, and then they stumble upon that machine at the very end. It's like, and this right here, guys, I'm telling you, this right here, I think, is possibly one of those steps to creating some of those basically like the new, how basically at this point we don't they didn't get the Sentinels and all of those kinds of things. I'm wondering if this APOTH is kind of a new hybrid thing that has come out that we didn't learn about through the House of X and Powers of X. I don't know, because they got these new machines and they're thinking on their own, and just kind of like it's not necessarily using biotechnology, which I think is kind of the bigger problem here for humans and mutants both. But we can see already they got, like the Sentinels, they got the machines with the AI there that are thinking, and I think that's exactly what that machine is that we got there at the end of Fallen Angels issue number 2. Guys, I'm telling you, these books have been absolutely blowing my mind. Like, I haven't been pulling all of these series. Luckily, I'm doing some reviews for my local comic book shop, so they can put up on their Facebook page and stuff. But guys, these books right here have been absolutely great. I wish there was one that I didn't want to read, because I really enjoy reading all of these books, guys. But let me know down in the comments below. Have you guys read New Mutants issue number 2? Have you read X-Force issue number 2 or Fallen Angels issue 2? If you have, guys, let's talk about them down in the comments below. There is a whole lot of things to talk about when it comes to these books, and I'll probably end up doing a live stream talking about these things more here in the near future. Maybe if you're part of the comic book community, guys, get a hold of me, and maybe we can schedule something. We can get a few of us together and sit down and just kind of nerd out about some of the things that are going on here in the X-Men universe. That's all I have for this video today, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Second Street Marvel. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe, click the little bell and all of that good stuff. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. It's all good. I don't take it personal. But while you're at it, please make sure that you share with a friend and invite them to come hang out with us here on the Second Street Marvel. You all have a very good day. Have a great rest of your week. Go out and support your local comic book shop. Read those comic books, guys, and let's talk about them in the comments below. We'll see you in the next video. Later.